Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. I'm pondering something and I wanted to put in front of you and see what you think. Love to hear your thoughts at howtopodcast.ca. So I'm coming up in the middle of February this year, 2026. I'm going to be doing a 24-hour marathon where I'm going to do 24 episodes in 24 hours, starting at 10 a.m. on the 13th of February and going all the way through all night into the next day, ending at 11 a.m. on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. And we're going to fall in love with podcasting over 24 hours. And as I think of this, as I contemplate this, I know I'm going to try a bunch of different things throughout the 24-hour period. And I'm going to play while I'm recording as well. And how I'm going to play, I might do some live streams on, like, go live on Instagram, for example, maybe live on YouTube. I might play with a tool called Boomcaster. Just a bunch of different things I want to try and just play with and see what I can break in the process, because I haven't done a lot of live podcasting stuff. And we've talked about this on the show, that live requires a live audience and people are usually busy and they have a life and they're not always available. But I do have listeners around the world. So at 3 a.m. my time, it'll be somebody else's better time of the day, and maybe they're available. So I'm going to go live. I'm going to play with all these things. And when I look at YouTube, YouTube has its own native live functionality within the YouTube app. So I know I can go live directly on YouTube without coming from some other source. So there's other places like Riverside and StreamYard and, like I mentioned, Boomcaster. And they will connect to your social sites like YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. So you can connect that way to these apps from these other parties. But what happens if you go native, like right on YouTube itself, and just do a YouTube live via YouTube? It's on there. And my question to you is, well, first, have you done that? Have you not use those other tools like Riverside and all those other ones and just gone native on the app, like right using the tools built into the actual app on Instagram? Go live on Instagram, just Instagram, using Instagram, not coming from somewhere else. Go live on Facebook and just be live on Facebook. Go live on LinkedIn and just be live on LinkedIn. Right now, I'm not going into many places. I'm going into one. But there's tools built into these tools, and I'm just wondering if the apps prefer if we use their tools instead of somebody else's tools. And that also then kind of feeds into using a tool, a scheduling tool, where you create a post for social media, you use the tool, and it sends it out into all your different platforms for you through a scheduling app. And it makes the post for you. Technically, you're not even on social when these posts go live. And I'm like, well, now are we subverting the social aspect of social media by using these tools? So I'm kind of in this quandary. I guess I could say that's a word, right? Quandary. I'm in this kind of space right now as I look towards the 13th and 14th of this month, going, well, what's better? Should I be using the tools built into the apps, or should I be using a third party that feeds into the apps? Curious what you do for your shows, but I want to talk about a little bit here and throw some things at you for your consideration. If you're like me and you haven't done this to any substantial degree and you're considering using some of these tools, here's a few things for you to think about. I'm glad you're here. Here we go. When we talk about cross-posting the same asset, the same content, the same video footage, whatever, everywhere, it's convenient to be able to use these tools that do this for you. But it is rarely the best way to use each of the platforms individually. There's a reason why these platforms differ from each other, and there's a reason why they have their own tool set, is they want you to use the tools native to that specific app, that specific social platform, whatever it is. And what matters most is how native the content feels to the feed that it appears in, and how human you are in how you show up on that platform. So there's a bunch of things here. Think about when we connect our podcast to YouTube, and YouTube takes an audio podcast, converts it into a video format, and you have the image of your artwork. And if you don't change the thumbnail, that's it. And it goes live on YouTube, and it's not a true video. It's an audio playable video file, basically. Now, is that the best use of YouTube? Probably not, because YouTube does prefer video over just strictly audio. But they did give us the option, and I know for my shows, I've connected all of my podcasts that way. So every time a new episode goes live on all my audio players, a copy is brought over to YouTube as well. And my YouTube strategy differs. Probably, if you've been here long enough, you've kind of heard little bits of it. But I technically don't really have a YouTube strategy. I just use YouTube as a backup storage drive. So I'm not trying to win at YouTube. And that frustrates a lot of gurus because I'm not putting the effort in that they think I should. And it's because I have 9 shows. So I have an out. So that's kind of my strategy. But would a video podcast or a video footage of a podcast do better than just simply a picture with an audio track attached? Probably. I would agree with that. That seems to make sense. But if that's all you can do is just simply connect your podcast to YouTube through that RSS feed, like I said, when it goes live everywhere else, it should go to YouTube as well. If at the minimum that's all you have time for and the bandwidth that you have, it's better to be there than not to be there. That's kind of how I tell my podcasters when we set them up. Connect it, have it ready, and at least be there. It's a great starting point. What you do from there is up to you, but at least make the connection. So what I'm struggling with right now is this native posting versus a one-size-fits-all approach for our content. When I look at it, most platforms seem to reward content that matches how the users naturally consume on that specific app. Native posts tend to get higher engagement because they fit the format, the behavior, and the expectations of that specific audience. For example, short video, vertical video with on-screen text and trending sounds on TikTok, or written insight plus a hook that maybe is a better link and in the comments on LinkedIn. Different approaches. A TikTok video is not designed for LinkedIn, and a LinkedIn post isn't designed for TikTok. What I'm finding is, though, in podcasting circles, people are creating one form of content, maybe cutting it up into little pieces, but one form of content, and then just spreading it everywhere without being native to each of the individual apps and how they operate. And that I might be one of our hang-ups in creating content, is we're doing a lot, but we're not doing it a lot well. And that's where I think we're maybe wasting time and resources and not getting a return on our investment. A static image video on YouTube or a raw, unedited live stream that's pushed straight out into the audio feeds as a podcast, it can work, but it usually feels like a second-class content compared to the content created with that context in mind. You are not breaking the platform, but you're giving up some of the built-in advantages of its native tools and culture when you simply just pipe in your stuff to an app without considering how the app operates and what the app prefers. So, are these third-party schedules hurting your reach? What do you think? There's really little evidence that using a reputable third-party scheduler by itself tanks your reach, but experiments in just common sense here. Comparing native posting with scheduled posting have found no meaningful difference in reach or engagement when the content and timing are comparable, but I still have this feeling that the apps would prefer to us to use the apps as they were intended and not pipe in our stuff from some other service. Where people lose out is where automation becomes a crutch. identical to get identical copy, identical content everywhere. No tweaks to format, no replies to comments, no interaction on social. There's no putting social back in social media. There's no adaptation to what works best on each platform and what doesn't work well. Then the performance drops. Not because of the tool, but because the content and the behavior are not truly native to the platform that you're posting to. Social media still needs human interaction. I firmly believe this. I was kind of like, part of my year this year in 2026 is I'm posting daily content every day. I'm making a point of making some post somewhere to stay in touch with my audience and to help me discover and deepen my relationship with my audience. So I'm posting in multiple places and monitoring the results. Now, one person said to me, well, just get a scheduler and you can post everywhere. My challenge is I have 9 podcasts. So which of the 9 podcasts do I choose to show up daily for? This show? I've been doing some on Instagram, very mild results at best. Do I show up on Living the Next Chapter, my author podcast? What about Dad Space? What about the podcast editing and support show? Like, do I show up on Instagram? Do I show up on Facebook? Do I show up on LinkedIn? What about my Substack? What about YouTube Shorts? Right? There's so many options. And then each of my podcasts have their own everything. So which one of the 9 shows do I pick? And which of that 9, which platform do I pick for one of those 9 podcasts? And so somebody just said, well, just post everywhere and use a tool. And I'm like, I feel like that defeats the purpose of being on the platform. If I can just farm out all my content and never be on the platform myself with intent. I still believe that social media needs human beings. Algorithms do prioritize content that drives genuine engagement, and that comes from creators who believe and behave like participants, not like some kind of distribution feed. Native tools, stickers, polls, filters, sounds, carousels, captions, those are all signals that the content was truly made for that specific platform. And those signals, I believe, can really help with your visibility because they correlate with the higher engagement because, again, you're using the tools provided to you by the app. I still think we're missing the boat here when we don't use the tools the way they were intended. So if you only push out automated posts and you never hang out in the comments, you never make yourself available, you don't go live, you don't post and stick around to interact with your audience, you never watch what actually works natively on the platform, I think your reach will usually stagnate or slowly shrink as other more engaged creators take that attention from you. So how do we balance scale and respect for each platform? So I think here's a practical middle ground on how we balance scale and respect for each platform as a content creator, as a podcaster. Create a master recording, so it be your podcast. Long form video, live stream, interview, solo episode. Create it once. Your master. Okay, so this is the main primary content. Okay, create that first. Second, then repurpose it, but adapt it to not only in the content, but adapt it to each version, to the platform. So vertically captioned clips for shorts, reels, TikToks, and maybe an article style post for LinkedIn or Substack, and maybe a polished audio edit for podcast feeds. Use schedulers for efficiency, if that works for you, but customize the copy, the thumbnail, the cover, and sometimes even the clip section per platform. It's going to take a little bit of extra work. It's not a one-click button and you're done. And then spend real time being social. Reply to these comments on YouTube. Reply to your comments on Spotify as a podcaster. Get in the DMs of new followers on Instagram, right? Like, show up on your Substack. People reply to your post, then reply to them, right? Like, be an active participant in the community, not just somebody who dumps content and runs. I think we can learn that from what performs natively when we do these things, and we can hone how we show up on these different apps. I think the key takeaway in all of this is you're not doing a moral disservice by repurposing, but you're leaving attention and connection on the table if you never let each platform's norms, tools, and audience shape how you show up there. I think we could do this a lot better. And I think it's worth discussing. I think it's worth reviewing the beginning of 2026 as we roll into February and things start getting busier for our podcast, is how am I showing up? And are the connections real? Do people really get a sense of me when I'm in Instagram, when I'm on LinkedIn, when I'm doing my podcast? And the other part too, I would say, is this whole thing about a YouTube strategy for your podcast and an audio strategy for your podcast. What works in audio doesn't always translate to video, and what works in video doesn't always translate back to audio. I'm really leaning into the idea that we almost need two versions of our show, two versions of our episode. One that is video focused if you want to do video, but even if it's just audio on YouTube, I think we still need a different version of our podcast than what we put out to our typical audio audience. Audio audience, we can have a little bit of an intro with some music and, chit-chat stuff at the beginning. Fine. It's a different experience for an audio listener than somebody who presses play on your video on YouTube. I still think video is probably better than a still image. But again, if you can only do a still image, then at least do that. But I still think we need a different intro. We need different ways of cutting up the content. I still love the idea of a podcast episode with 4 main points and release it as an audio, as is, the full episode, but then take those 4 main points and chunk them out into 4 separate, smaller episodes for YouTube, where you just talk about point number 1 and you'd make that an episode. Point number 2 is also a standalone episode. Point number 3 and point number 4, you get 4 episodes out of 1, if you had 4 main points, for example. And release them that way. And see what does better. A full-length video or a full-length still image audio podcast on YouTube, or chunked out sections of your podcast designed specifically for the platform so that you can reach more people. And then play with those two and see what works best for you. The days of just creating one piece of content and putting it everywhere, I think are numbered as podcasters. I think we need to be a little bit more intentional and a little bit more focused on connecting on the app as the app was designed to be used, and not just making everything look and sound the same from app to app to app because we're so busy and we don't have time. I think we're losing out. And when we talk about social media, I encourage you to pick one place that's your home, one place that you enjoy, one place that you don't mind showing up to post on, and make that your priority. And when you have time in the margins of life, either add on a second social platform, add on something else that you complements your podcast, but pick one. Don't try to do them all. Get your handle on all the apps. Great. That's fine. Like, get your foot in the door and grab that real estate with your name on whatever the app is, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Mastodon, just this goes on and on, right? Get your name on those places, sign up, get an account, but show up on one place and make that your priority and build what you can, right? Do what you can with what you have where you are. It goes back to that every time. But again, think of how the apps perform, look at the tools that each of these apps offer. And like I said, I can go live on Boomcaster or Riverside and pipe it into YouTube, or I can use the live feature built into YouTube itself. Skip Riverside, skip Boomcaster, just focus on the YouTube live functionality within YouTube, and maybe YouTube's going to like that better. I don't know. I'm on this journey. I'm going to figure it out for me and for my show. I'm encouraging you to do this as well for your show. invest the time, learn the tools, play, experiment, break things, fix them, and keep moving forward. I'd love to hear where you land on this as well. Your feedback would be amazing on this. Any guidance you have for me, that would be wonderful. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here. Hey, thanks for being part of the podcast today. Just a reminder, on February 13th to February 14th, we're going to do something a little different on the How to Podcast series. We're going to go and do 24 episodes in 24 hours, a marathon, self-imposed. We're going to create an episode every hour on the hour and release it over a 24-hour period. We're going to go live. We're going to do some live streaming. We're going to be live on social media. We're going to be live on LinkedIn and YouTube and a bunch of different things. So if you want to come along for the journey, and I know I have a global audience, so this might really work well for you to come and be a part of it. And when you go to bed on the 13th and wake up on the 14th, by around 10 a.m., 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you will have 24 episodes in 24 hours from the How to Podcast series. Why am I doing this? Because I don't hear anybody else doing this, and I'm up for a challenge. So it's leading into Valentine's Day. It's leading into falling in love with your podcast for the month of February, all that stuff. So if you're interested and you want to see what's going to happen, 24 episodes in 24 hours with your buddy here, Dave. Let's see anybody else kind of do this. I challenge you or anyone else who thinks they can do this to take up the gauntlet. And let's see if you can do 24 episodes in 24 hours. I triple dog dare you. I'm going to do it. And it's all part of our 365 days of content in 2026. So yeah, this should be fun. So if you want to stick around, you want to check it out. February 13th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, all the way through until completing at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, the 14th, leading right into our meetup. We'd love to have you come along. Come check out the craziness, February 13th and 14th. Love to see you there. Cheers. Okay, you're still here? Great. Question came in, what makes a successful podcast, Dave? Well, success is relative to your goals for your show. My goals for my show might be completely different than what you expect as success for your show. The one thing we need to understand is this podcast designed to generate income for a business? Or is this a fun project that I want to do in my spare time? Am I going after a large audience to make money with my show? Am I just want to get on the microphone and talk? There's no second-class creators in podcasting. Whatever you decide is great. It's fine. I'm not the creator who's looking to make this a full-time job as a podcaster. I don't think that's in the cards for me. I think I'm always going to have something else that I lean on as a stable income generator for me and my family. But I just love podcasting. And I shouldn't be looked down on because I'm not turning this into a full-time business. Because not everybody does. A lot of people don't. So for me, my success metrics are finding clients to do editing for, finding clients to coach as a coach for podcasters, finding people who are interested in my meetup group, responding to questions and comments in Spotify and YouTube, growing my audience, spending time with you through my calendar. These are all success metrics for me. You need to know what your success metrics are. And they need to be specific to your audience. If you have a very tight topic area with a small audience, you're not going to be a top 100 podcast. You don't have the mass appeal to rank with all those other big shows with hundreds and thousands of people that love that topic. You might have a topic with 100 people who love what you talk about globally, like super, super narrow audience. And you need to be happy with that. Your success metric depends on your content, depends on your availability, depends on your practice and your development as a podcaster. All these things feed into that. So pick a success metric that works for you. And don't try to just emulate everybody else and think you can do what everybody else does, because you probably can't. You don't have the same skill set. You don't have the same background. You don't have the same connections. You don't have the same experience. None of these things. So it's very difficult to replicate somebody else's success or how you view their success when they're probably looking at someone else for success metrics. We're all chasing something. Define what it is that you're chasing, reevaluate it on a regular basis, and measure it. See if you're getting close to the thing you want. So for me, I'm looking to reach one person with this episode. So the fact that you're still here, you are my success metric. I've reached my goal because you're still listening to the podcast, even at the very end. So now I know I'm a success. And that's enough for me. Sure, I love to make money from my podcast. Sure, I'd love to be able to take my wife out for dinner based on the generosity of my audience. I would love to do that. Has it happened? No. No, it hasn't. But that doesn't stop me from creating content because my success metric is you. So you being here tells me I'm on the right path. So thank you. Thank you for making this podcast a success. Define your success, hold on to it, and don't be afraid to pivot if it's not leading to your joy. And that's how you know if you're a successful podcaster. You don't have to be a top 100 podcast. You don't have to be a top 1% podcast on Listen Notes. You need to find your success metric that's uniquely yours and chase it. That's up to you. I can't do that for you, but I'd love to help you at howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here. Take care.